All right. Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome again to another sunny Sunday of the One Great I Am Awakening. I'm Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, and soon to join me is my partner in spirit and in mind, Mr. Gregory Isaac Thomas, also known as Sir T. He's multitasking at the minute, but he'll be joining us shortly, um, as soon as he gets a chance. So, today we're going to discuss rather interesting title and topic. Um, and it's when things becomes topsy-turvy, are they falling apart or falling into place? Okay. And the subheading is your perception of them will decide the matter. Okay, so today we're going to really talk about perception, how we're perceiving things, and kind of want to get some interaction from you guys, if you will, testimonial stuff like that. This year we did a little change in how we normally did our program on Sundays, and it was to focus more on developing our imagination, developing our perception, developing our awareness of things around us and within us and stuff like that, in order to help us better manifest our desires. So we've come to the end of the year. Today is the 28th. We have 3 more days to go. Thursday is the first of 2026. So this class is really in preparation. It's in reflection of this year, of things past, things we acknowledged, are experienced, or are experiencing, and it is to prepare us, for the coming 2026, the coming new year. All right. So it's twofold. It is a reflection and looking ahead, preparation. Um, what are we to expect going forward in our journey of consciousness, of awareness? I think we have really um break some grounds this year personally, and I think for all of us here as well, you guys have broken some grounds as well in your own personal lives. And it's interesting because we're in a time where things seems chaotic, as I have on the on the flyer here. It says chaos now, but clarity next. So things may seem chaotic right now, but clarity is within the chaos. um in the storm, the center is calm. So if you go to the center, you can perceive things much better, if you stay in the center, or stay centered, or stay in the silence, and don't get caught up in the wind of things. You understand? So this is just to get us to reflect on this past year, 2025, where we started a different, view, or a different way of thinking or perceiving, and developing our imagination. And I really believe that we have achieved that. But why I want to touch on this topic today, it in some cases it might seem as if all of what's going on does not show that we have hit our mark, or um, that we have achieved anything, because look how things look topsy-turvy and stuff like that. You understand? So we want to clean up our perception of how things may appear to be, so that in preparation going into the new year, we don't carry with us the wrong perception. We will carry the right perception of how things, may seem to be, but how we perceive it will decide the true outcome. All right. I see Sir T just joined us in the chat. Sir T, are you still? Sir T, are you there? Okay, he said he can't speak as of yet. All right, no worries. And says good day to everyone, Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so that said, for the sake of time, let's see if we can jump into two audios I have prepared. I'm just going to play them out straight, not going to intervene or interfere with what the tapes are going to say. One of them is just basically something to clarify the topic and give you a really, really good perception of this today's topic. A really good angle to come from. And as you're watching it, um, you can reflect on your own experiences from this year or even previous years, not just this year, but any other previous times or experiences that you may have encountered or whatever. This tape I'm about to play will give you some insight on how you should behave in those times of chaos or whatever the case may be, or when things seem to be topsy turvy. So we're going to focus on those things being topsy turvy, chaotic, but how to use our imagination in those states of of uh, of awareness. All right. And then another tape is on Job, very short, is on Job to further elaborate that biblical story from one named Job. And Job represents humanity, you know. Um, the meaning of Job is, where is my father? So it's who am I? you know, this is the universal question that we have all asked. So it represents humanity and the experiences that humanity has had or is having. And so it's very important to understand the story from that point of view, that all it is a story of the mind, story of humanity, story of consciousness, um, and not an historical book or history in any way, shape, or form. It is simply um, giving you an inner or introspective look at your own self, at your own self, and how you should perceive life going forward and stuff like that. So wonderful story, but very short audio of the two. So take a listen. And like I said, I wouldn't interfere or intervene with it. I would just let it run. And then we're going to come right back to discuss our findings. So let us share this one. And where is it? Here it is. All right. So let's play this and we'll be right back. So this is your first one. It says, nothing is falling apart. It's falling into place. Let's see.
When life falls apart, it may be falling into place. A man runs through the forest, chased by a tiger. Desperate, he leaps into an old dry well, only to find a poisonous snake coiled at the bottom. As he falls, he grabs onto a root jutting from the wall. Above him, the tiger growls. Below, the snake waits. Then two mice, one black, one white, appear and begin gnawing at the root. Hanging between life and death, the man realizes he has nowhere to go and nothing left to hold on to. This story mirrors moments in our lives when everything feels hopeless. We run from one problem only to collide with another, believing fate has turned against us. Our sense of safety shatters and life seems to fall apart completely. Like the man clinging to the root, we feel trapped between fear and despair, wondering if there's any escape. Yet Buddhism teaches that everything changes. Night turns into day, storms clear, and misfortune can become a hidden blessing. Life is not static. It constantly shifts and transforms. The man cannot control the tiger or the snake, but he can control his perception. It's not circumstances that create suffering, but the way we see them. Perhaps what feels like life collapsing is actually life rearranging itself for something greater. Most people are ruled by what the Buddha called the 8 worldly winds: pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disgrace.
Mhm.
When things go well, we're happy. When they don't, we despair. But true freedom lies in detaching our peace from these passing conditions. The man in the well understands this. Instead of panicking, he observes calmly. Suddenly, he notices sweet honey dripping from a beehive above and smiles as he tastes it. In that moment of danger, he still finds joy, proof that peace can exist even in chaos. Through his Buddhist practice, the man has learned the truth of impermanence. Everything passes. Both joy and sorrow are temporary. He recalls the story of a wise king who received a ring engraved with the words, "This too shall pass."
Mhm.
The message reminded him to stay humble in good times and patient in bad ones. In the same way, the man in the well trusts that his situation too will change, because change is the only constant in life. And indeed, it does. The tiger, leaning too far over the edge, suddenly slips and falls into the well, crushing the snake below. The man, unharmed, climbs out and survives. What seemed like certain death becomes salvation. The lesson is clear. When life appears to fall apart, it may actually be falling into place. Hope often arrives quietly in ways we could never predict. We cannot control everything that happens, but we can control how we respond. Pain is inevitable, yet suffering is optional. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do." Like the man in the well, we can still find sweetness in the present moment, even while danger surrounds us. True peace comes not from changing our situation, but from changing our relationship to it. No matter how carefully we plan, life rarely unfolds the way we expect. But peace is found not through control, but through acceptance. Pain visits everyone, but resisting it only deepens our suffering. Gratitude, awareness, and presence free us from the chaos around us. Even in darkness, there is beauty to be found if we have the courage to look. The more we try to control life, the more it slips from our grasp. Like sailors adjusting their sails to shifting winds, we must learn to flow with change. When we stop fighting reality, we discover calm. Pain may still exist, but peace arises when we accept it fully. So when everything feels like it's falling apart, perhaps it's actually aligning in ways we can't yet see. Every struggle, loss, or delay can lead to something better. The man in the well didn't escape by fighting, he survived by trusting. His calmness became his strength, and life's unpredictability became his ally. In every hardship, we have a choice, to resist or to awaken. Acceptance is not surrender, it's clarity. Even surrounded by fear, we can still taste life's sweetness. Freedom begins the moment we stop depending on circumstances for happiness. The story reminds us that pain is part of existence, but how we meet it defines us. In stillness and acceptance, we discover that change is always at work, quietly transforming our path. What feels like the end may simply be life rearranging itself for a new beginning. Even in despair, something unseen is moving in our favor. The man's rescue came not through effort, but through trust. Likewise, our peace emerges when we stop resisting and start allowing. Pain is real, but every challenge carries a hidden lesson, guiding us toward awareness, strength, and inner freedom. Ultimately, life never truly falls apart, it simply shifts shape. The man in the well teaches us that peace comes from acceptance, not control. When we stop struggling against what is and learn to trust life's flow, what once seemed like an ending becomes a doorway to renewal. Lesson: we cannot escape the uncertainty of life, but we can learn to meet it with calm. When everything seems to crumble, it may not be destruction, it may be transformation. Like the man tasting honey while danger looms, we can still find sweetness in the moment. Life is not against us, it is guiding us. When we stop resisting and trust its flow, we see that what once felt like falling apart was, in truth, life quietly falling into place.
The earliest Christian creeds were drama and not metaphysics or abstract doctrines. It was the descent of God into a world of death, eternal death, and then the rising of God into the world of eternal life. That was the earliest Christian creeds. And men turned around and made rituals and ceremonies and self-purification. And all these, and they call it Christianity. And they are all in vain. All of them. There is a way back, and only one way back. It's all described for us in the Scripture. Your life is the life of Job. Every child born of woman, his story is the story of Job. Innocent, guiltless of all offense. As we are told in the end of the story of Job, and after he lost all of his things, he lost his 7 sons and his 3 daughters who were killed. Then he lost his health. He was filled with boils. Then he lost his friends. All the friends left him. He lost his wealth. He was a very, very wealthy man. And then he lost his honor. And in the very end, God restored twice as much to Job. Whatever he had, God doubled. And then his brothers and his sisters, and those whom had known him before, came to comfort him and to eat bread in his house with him for all the evil that the Lord had brought upon him. Everything that happened to Job was done by the Lord. And the word translated the Lord is Jehovah. Yod-He-Vav-He. Translated in its true sense as I am. That is the Lord God Jehovah. That brought upon Job. So the word Job means, where is my father? That is the question that every child born of woman is asking. Where is the cause of the phenomena of my life? Why do things happen as they happen? There must be a cause. And the cause is the Father. So where is my Father? In the very end, Job could say, I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees thee. In the very end, he found the Father. And I'll tell you from my own experience, when you find the Father, you find yourself.
All right. And we're back. So that was the 2 audios that I wanted to play for us to set the foundation for today's lesson. All right. Again, it's titled, When Things Become Topsy-Turvy, Are They Falling Apart or Falling into Places? Or falling into place. All right. When things become topsy-turvy, are they falling apart or falling into place? And the subheading is, your perception of this matter, your perception of this will decide the matter. Okay, your perception of it will decide the matter. I also wrote that, let me see what it said right here. That okay. In today's class, we're going to discuss and come to terms that when things seems to be falling apart, our perception of them will keep them falling apart or falling into place. So I'll repeat that part. Our perception of them will keep them falling apart based on how we perceive it. So if we're perceiving uh, that it is what it is, it is what it seems to be based on our natural eye. The natural eye on the surface is telling you that what is happening is what is happening. Okay? Things are falling apart, so you perceive it as that. Or if you rearrange it, rearrange your mind, rearrange your perception. Don't use your outer eye, use your inner eye. Don't use your outer eyes, use your inner eye, your awareness, your imagination. Okay? Use your uh consciousness in a way where you rearrange the external from the internal. Recognize that the external is coming from the internal anyways. Okay? Um, but how you perceive it could keep it in the same topsy-turvy appearance, or it could rearrange it to where it is going to fall into place. And it's all going to be based on how you perceive it, as you heard on the video just then. Wayne Dyer says it this way: when you change the way you look at things, the very things you're looking at changes. Okay? So profound. When you change the way you're looking at something, when you change the way you're perceiving something, that very thing that you're perceiving with a different mindset, a different state of mind, it is going to follow that state of mind. It is going to follow the new state of being. It is going to take that shape, take that mold that you've now formed in your mind or in your imagination to be, that would become the desired outcome. And that is something that is hard to do when you're not aware of the power that you have within you, when you're not aware that you are the cause of the phenomena of life. You know, all of it is your cause. You're the cause. I played that video also with Job explaining that all of us, life in general, the whole world is the story of Job, or Job is the story of the entire world. You know, that all of us is Job. Job means, where is my father? And the father is your consciousness. And what you're asking is, what is the cause of all of that, of all of what's going on? What is the cause of the phenomena of life? And the only cause is consciousness, you know. Um, so you're always asking, we all do it. Why is this happening now? Or what's causing this? You know? Why is things so topsy-turvy? And we get kind of out of sorts. We kind of match the energy of the instability, so to speak, of the situation. We kind of match the with the emotions. You know, your emotions kind of like become heightened, and you further, where they say attention, energy flows where attention goes. So now you're giving it life. Um, I was talking to one of the barbers yesterday. I was giving him a scenario, something similar to what we're talking about here. And I was like, I remember one day after, this was 2022, when Ian came, that hurricane. And I was walking by this tree, no, driving by the tree for about 2 weeks. The tree had fell over, fallen. And I realized that the leaves were still green. And I'm like, wait a minute now. Why is this tree? It's been 2 weeks now since the hurricane, and the tree is still green. Normally, once the tree fall over and it's not connected to the ground anymore, it is dead, because I can see the roots and everything uprooted. So upon further inspection, I got out my car and I walk up to the tree, to inspect it to see what really are going on. And what I noticed was there was this one root that was still in the ground, even though all the other roots had came up, and that's why the tree fell over. So the moral of the story is the reason why the tree had life was because the tree was still green was because energy was still flowing to it. It was still getting that energy that keeps it alive, you know, which is the nutrients and the water and the sunlight and all this type of stuff. You know, the ground is the womb, it's fertile. It's significant to consciousness that keeps everything alive. You understand? So energy flows where attention goes. So the root was still attending to the ground. It was still in the ground, and therefore energy was still flowing to it, and that's why it was green. It only fell over because all the other roots were what kept it erected. So once it blow over, those roots break or whatever, the tree is naturally going to fall over. But if one or more of those roots are still in the ground, the tree will stay alive. It cannot be erected, obviously because it's no longer rooted, but it is still grounded in the ground. Just that one vein, that's all it needed was to give it life, you know. And so, so we have to be very careful how we're perceiving things. So sometimes that one little vein may not be something that is conscious, but subconscious. You meaning that you don't want this thing to continue the way it is, but there's a subconscious program or form of belief that is keeping that thing alive. And the only way to break that chain or break that reality is to sever the root, sever your attention, though it be subconsciously, sever it from the way you're perceiving the outcome. Okay, so when things are looking upside down, it may appear to be going badly, and in many cases, if not all cases, it is not so. But if it continues to go badly, it's because of your perception of it. That's what we're saying. It only continued to become that expectation. Certainly like to talk about expectation. What you expect will happen. So you see things are falling apart and you join the party. You gave what you're seeing energy. You gave what you're seeing um, the expected outcome. Like you're seeing it and you say, boy, this only is going to continue being bad, It's never going to be. When is this going to end? Or this will never end. You hear people say all the time, boy, my life always this and that and the third, These are individuals who always expect that to happen. And so when it happens, they're not surprised. They're disappointed, but they're not surprised because they always expect it. That is the subconscious life or subconscious energy you're giving to things that something is going to go wrong eventually, you know. And that might be the case because of how the mind is easily um, caught up into things. Sometimes it's subconsciously. You're not aware that you're even interacting or entertaining these concepts or things. But then eventually here comes the the breakdown or the destruction or whatever you want to call it. And it is up to you now to be wise enough to perceive that this is only a temporary situation, just like how the tape was saying, it's only temporary. It appears to be something destructive, but it is not. It is actually uh, a reconstruction of something that is better, something that is to come. But you have to reconstruct, and when you reconstruct things, there has to be a destruction. There has to be a breakdown before you can rebuild. Right now I'm going through it with my kitchen. I am reconstructing the kitchen, um, and everything up topsy turvy right now. I had to tear down the drywall, tear down the cabinets above and below, the countertop. Everything had to go in order to reconstruct the kitchen. But when it is finished, it would be like it has never happened. So you can look at life like that. We're talking about just generic things, ordinary things that may seem to be falling apart. But it's just like I just said. I desire a new kitchen. My wife desires a new kitchen. It's been something I've been conceptualizing for quite some time. you know, don't know when it's gonna happen, how it's gonna happen. Never said if, but how and when. And just looking at it, reconstructing it in my mind all the time, how I was going to do it, even though I've never done a kitchen in that way before. I've done like small upgrades, but never to that level. But in my mind, I was always constructing it, you know, and then generically, ordinarily, just out of the blue, my wife said she want to rearrange the kitchen. But I know that in my own self, I was already doing it. I was already working on that for quite some time. But that was the appointed time for it to happen, right? And I know in consciousness and how it works, did not fight it or question it. I knew exactly what was happening. So I just went with the flow, went with the program, as they would say. And, started the deconstruction. Or, because I'm doing it with some help and stuff like that. But I have to do it when I have the time and whatever. But in my own mind, I already see the finished product. It's already finished. But what I'm going through is the way it is going to be done. So what am I saying here? Using that as an example, that when things are going awry, as they would say, whatever that might be, maybe it's things on your job, maybe it's somebody who um, disappointed you, whatever the case may be, right? When you're going through that, it is a it is a reconstruction of something better that is to come. But in order for something better to come, you have to reconstruct, and reconstruction requires uh, destruction, taking away the old to bring in the new. And the thing about it is, it's always happening. It's always happening at a time when there is no when you least expect it, or the thing you're coming to your certainty, the thing you're going through is at a bad time. It not make sense. It seems to be um just out of the blue and unfair, but it is really um an alignment that is really taking place. Yes, sir. T, go ahead.
Yes, sir, Chris, thank you so much. And grand rising to everybody in the class. Yeah, it's been a minute. I've been away for a week or two, maybe. But we're back for the last of this year and the upcoming days into what's considered a Sir Chris and I were talking this morning. I was talking about the growth that I have seen this year, and I don't know if it's out of maturity or it's an. I guess it's just something that I became aware of. But
Hmm.
in previous years, the year would end, and I would mostly feel disappointed in what I accomplished the past year. But for some reason, this year I'm very satisfied, and this year being a terrible year in terms of things that I've experienced, but I am satisfied at the end of it in terms of where I'm at, in terms of growth.
Mm.
That even in times of trouble, I still step out of this area comfortable because when things seem to be falling apart, they are actually falling into place. And I've considered it and realized that that's what it exactly is. Things are always falling apart, yet they are always falling into place. It's like the doll in the Tao Te Ching that does nothing, yet leaves nothing undone. In the doing of things, things have to be undone for it to be done. If you want a if you want a kitchen circus, something have to go wrong with the one where you're having it. That's why you want a new one. Even if when I say wrong, not necessarily damaged or anything like that, but it just doesn't fulfill your taste anymore. You want a new look, why if you want a new look? And
Hmm.
that's how life is. Things are always unscrambling to be put back together as one thing, because in the end it is still one, even in its unscrambled state. Even when things seem to be falling apart, it is still one. It might be one whole mess, but it's one. And it comes back together. It comes back together into the oneness of how you reform it. Can't keep in mind it is you that is unscrambling it. You just don't realize that you are the one unscrambling it.
Hmm.
It is you that is disjointing your world, and causing it to fall apart. And it is you who has to put it back together. Except in the putting back together, you have a choice. When you're unscrambling it, you don't have a choice in how it go unscrambling. When things come crashing down, you don't get a choice in how it will crash down. But in the putting back together of it, that's where you have a choice.
Hmm.
Yes, see the finished product, accept the finished product, and the end will provide its own means. The end always provides the means. So when things seem to be falling apart, you have to know and continue to hold the vision of the thing being in place. Look not upon appearances, meaning do not give your attention, your emotion. Don't give yourself into the falling apart that you are seeing. Judge not based upon appearance, but judge all things righteously. What is righteously? Righteously is the way that you see it right, the way
Yeah.
that you would like it to be.
Hmm.
Righteousness for you, righteousness for you cannot be decided by another man. Another man can't tell you what is righteous for you. In your shoes. When you are satisfied, it is right. It's your experience.
Yeah.
If you are satisfied, regardless what it seems like to the public, to the media, to whoever the guy is, if it sits right with you, then for you it is right. So don't judge things as they appear, but judge all things righteously.
Hmm.
Judge a thing the way how it feels right, how it's set right with you. That's how you should. That should be your final judgment on it. Your final judgment in any matter. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you judge the thing, then the whole digestion of the thing becomes different for you. You can digest it different from how our next man can take it because you are judging it different from how we might judge it. You decide, in the falling into place of the things that appeared to have been falling apart. So, as we come to what we call the end of the year, I am sure everyone has grown. the mere fact that you're still here on the last class of the year, that shows me you have grown. You might not be able to physically do it in yourself, but that alone show me say you grow. Because you were here at the beginning and you're here at the end, so you're growing endurance. You know, so you just have to know, you know, that you're in a process, you're on a bridge of incidents that is leading to something.
Mm.
You get to decide what it leads to. You get to decide what it leads to. And the feeling is the same. How are you feeling at the end of the year? How are you feeling? How you feel? So you check your temperature, you know. So
Mhm.
check, test thyself. If you are in the spirit, prove yourself if you are in the faith. And what is the proof? Knowing not that Christ lives in you. If you know that Christ lives in you, which Christ we're talking about? We're talking about the anointing. What anointing we're talking about? We're talking about the law that creates and dismantle everything and recreate it. If you know that operates within you somehow, then you are in the faith.
Yeah.
If you think that there's a power somewhere else that does that, then I don't know where you are. But if you know, prove thyself if you are in the faith. Know ye not that Christ lives in you. Know ye not that there is a power. What is Christ? A power that can come against all challenges, that can unscramble and recreate all things regardless how it appears. So you don't have to judge by appearances because you know that there's a genie within you. If you know that, then you're in the faith. And if you're in the faith, that's a great way to end. Where you, even though we know nothing ends, right? We know that year not end. Nothing ends. Life is not linear, brother. Life is infinite. You notice what the symbol of the infinity is? Two circles on top of one another. Circles touching each other. Touching each other at the apex, the two circles are touching each other, and both of them are endless. That's a one and a one. That's a male and a female. That's a conscious and the subconscious. Life is not linear. Life doesn't begin somewhere and continue and endingly in a particular direction. Now, what goes around comes around. We know that. You see summer, you see winter, you see autumn, you see whatever. You know, come back around December, November, October, September. They don't come back. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You know, see everything come back. Everything comes right back around. Life is not linear. What goes around comes around. You can have a better come around the next time. This one how you really come around this time. That's how it's going. You're always living in the end. You're always living in your next experience. What you're doing today is a preview of what's gonna come around the next time. So come back around. Circus and to the whole crew. Proud of you guys to come again to complete a cycle. And as we're rolling to another cycle, just continue to do it. And Circus, pick up yourself. You've been very faithful, my brother. I cannot always be present on this class. For several reasons. I'm always on the move for some reason. And plus I work on Sundays most of the times.
Yeah.
But Circus, you've been the rock. You've been the rock that keep this thing rolling. We are rolling to the 6th year, you know. With this faithfully.
Yeah.
Pick up yourself, brother. All right.
Yes, sir, T. Thank you so much for that. Right there, and everything that you said is in alignment with why we're doing the class today. You know, all you said there was profound and on point, and you know, definitely we'll be taking that heart. You know, um, like I said, we're going into our 6th year with this concept of consciousness and improving our, you know, our strengthening our consciousness from 5 years ago till now, and going into year 6 is a remarkable feat and journey. Every year we have grown bigger and better. Uh, this year, as you said, has been truly amazing in terms of the growth that we have experienced within ourselves. You know, we can definitely tell that we have grown. We may not see it on the outside, and that is the trick. As you said earlier, judge not by appearances, but only by how you expect things to be. You have an expectation, and you always get what you expect, but you have to sustain the expectation, as you say, Sir T. It have to be a sustained goal, so that you are at the end of it. Expectation put you at the end, always. You understand? And as never say, beginning the end from the very start at the end from the very beginning. Imagine things already as you expect it to be. The assumption, though false, it will turn into facts. When you assume something, you are at the end of the expectation. You're at the end of the thing you desire. But you have to sustain the expectation. You have to remain there. You can't leave because it is a date, or a coming together, that a union, and you have to be there for you to receive your desire. Okay. And so, we're just basically just reflecting, as I said earlier, reflecting on the years past, and projecting now into 2026 and beyond. The growth that we have now is going to show, the growth that we have internally is going to show externally in the coming months to come. We may not know how it is going to happen, how it is going to transpire. And as I'm saying, this is the perfect topic, or subject, to recognize, that when things are topsy-turvy, when things seem to be falling apart, it is a sign that things are falling into place. But the caution is, if you perceive it as falling apart, that's what will happen. It will literally fall apart. It will become a devastation, a destruction, because you did not remain in your assumption, you know. And you're in your assumption, and you sit like, let's use this as an example. And I'll give you a personal example in a minute. As an example, let's just say you desire to, purchase your favorite car, or your dream car, or whatever. And you know you have a perfect job, you have the money, everything is aligned or whatever, and it is happening. This is your goal that you had all year long, and all of a sudden, the your job lowers your hours, or or you lose a job somewhere, somehow, right? So now you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to get this car that I was looking for, because no, I don't have any job. I don't have any money, or I don't have any way to get it now, because the vine that you had has just been severed. And so now you have the perception of, this is it. It's not gonna happen again. You know, you're having that perception of it. And you're not realizing that a setback is a setup for a comeback. It is something that had to happen to put you in a better position. You're going to get a better job, a better career. Something bigger is going to happen, you know. But because you didn't know it, because you weren't aware of it, and you remained in the doomsday concept or perception of the thing, it remained that way. You find yourself spending months trying to get rehired, trying to get a job, because you got emotional about the outcome, about what was going on. And then the car that you had in mind, you no longer remained in the imagination that you were using of having the car. You didn't, you used to imagine yourself driving the car, parking the car in your garage, going on long trips, all these things you're imagining. But when this thing happened, you stopped that perception that you had of the vehicle. And so therefore, because you stopped that, the what was happening did not follow the path it was going to at the time. It did not follow the path of redirecting you to a better job, making a whole lot more money, making it much easier for you to even buy the car. You might even buy the car cash, pay it off sooner, or something like that. But because you lost your focus, you lost the idea or the desire, because now you had to attend to something more pressing. I need to find a job now. That is secondary. Because you forgot about that now, you you did not the projection did not take you where it was going. The thing that was falling apart to fall into place actually just kept on falling apart, you know? So we're just telling you that your perception of what's happening is going to determine the outcome, you know? You have to see that it is for the good, you know. What the story with Joseph, Jacob's son, say when his brothers sold him to Egypt, he said, when the brothers finally united with him and everything, and he said, you know, you guys meant it for evil, but the Lord meant it for good. You know, you guys meant it for evil when you sold me to Egypt. You thought you were doing something evil, but it was the Lord, it was God, it was um, my consciousness, my awareness of being that was doing it and meant it for good. And you saw the story of how Jacob turned out. He became the right hand man to Pharaoh. He became the governor of Egypt. You understand? And what did it say, telling you there? That you have to be the governor of of um of your life. You have to be the governor of your consciousness. You understand? You have to know that all cause, anything that's happening is coming from an unseen cause. It's coming from consciousness. Okay? And if consciousness can cause it, consciousness can uncause it. It can undo it, or it can carry it into a different path. It can lead it to the direction that you want it to go. If you recognize that it is you who had done it or who is doing it in the first place. Okay? I have many examples of things that appeared to be falling apart, but it was all along falling into place. All along, falling into place based on the desire I had or was having at those particular times, you know. And I have it's a constant flow of things that was going great, and all of a sudden things start to fall apart. But then several days or weeks later, or in cases sometime months, the thing was back online, back on in line, and it was better than ever. It never got worse. It got much, much better than it ever did, you know. Um, Quick examples, I can go back to when I um had let me see, this was 2000 and this was 1999. All right. 1999. Yeah, I believe it was 99. Okay. So I am I'm desiring in 1999 a job. I wasn't working a full-time job. I was cutting hair, and I didn't have any proof of income to buy a house. I wanted to buy a house um at the time. Or I wanted to buy a car. Things I couldn't buy because I had to use my credit, which I didn't have any, and I had to use income, which I could not prove. But I was cutting here at the time for a long time, for a while, and it had came to a point where I um, needed to make more money than I was making in cutting here, and I needed to make money that I can prove that is an income. So when I go to buy a car, because I tried buying a car before, and I was rejected because that was the thing. I didn't have any proof of the income, right? The way I was trying to buy it, it was not a buy here pay. It was at an established dealership that requires financing based on the car that I wanted to buy. I had a car which I bought from a buy here pay here, which does not require those things. But when you're going to buy from an established dealer or dealership, they require proof of income and stuff like that, and your what you call it now, your credit score and all that stuff. So, anyways, I happened to be cutting here one day, and at my house at the time, that's where I was working at, and these two guys came out of nowhere, earlier that day. Never saw them before. They left. And as I was wrapping up that evening, I was cutting my father at the time. These guys came back again and actually robbed me, you know, at gunpoint, right? So in that time of having that experience, you're not obviously you cannot see where this is projecting, where it is going to go. You understand? You're just seeing doom and gloom. Like this does is not adding up, is not making sense. This is my livelihood, and now it is being taken away. You understand? So, anyways, I was robbed at gunpoint, and I decided to stop cutting here. Decided to, I'm not gonna cut here anymore. I'm done with this thing. And that same day, I severed everything and I went into the workforce. I went looking for work and I got the job, and I was on the job for like 17 months. Interestingly, I was not making the same amount of money. I was actually making less. So I wanted to make more money, but I went from making more to less. But what did I achieve? I achieved working in a field wherein I can show that I have a job. And I could have quit that job the first day or first week, because the boss or the owner was not, I would say, polite or pleasing or whatever the case may be. But I had a vision that I had to be there to create a job experience or whatever the case may be for my long-term expectation. So, but at the time as this was going on, I did not realize that this was for the good. What those guys did meant it for evil, but my consciousness, whatever I had in mind, meant it for good. All right. And I was kind of like on the fence what I should do while I was cutting. Should I, get a job? Should I start a business? Otherwise, I was just on the fence, but something had to push me in that direction. So, anyways, here I am working a job. I was mad. I was disappointed. I was frustrated that something like that could have happened to me, but I was grateful that my life was spared. So, I was not supposed to lose my life in that sense. It was a, it was a, like a nudge. It was a nudge to get to the things that I was desiring. Keep in mind, I had this desire already to start a job for the purpose of buying a house and for the purpose of buying a car and just having proof of income and whatnot. But I was on the fence. I was wishy-washy. One day I'm going to do it, another day I was not. But something had to push me, though it was extreme. That's exactly what happened, right? And as I was on this job for 17 months, not making enough money to buy a house. I had started now to go out and look at homes, like maybe a year and a half in, or somewhere like that. Less than a year and a half, maybe a year to be exact. I was starting to look at homes or whatever, but I did not have the money to buy the homes, right? So right into it, um, yeah, year and yeah, about 17 months into it, just about. This was 2001. So I got that job in 99. Here comes 2001, um, late March. I had a disagreement with my boss, and not an argument, just insubordination. He thought that I didn't do something he had asked me to do. So he suspended me. I ended up applying for a job for 5 different jobs that day on the day that he suspended me. And I remember working the rest of the week. I was suspended for the Monday and I worked out the rest of the week. But by the end of the week, I had interviewed for 2 of those jobs. And I worked till the Friday. And I remember calling him to tell him that Friday was my last day. I quit the job and I was not even hired yet. But I was in my feelings. I was disappointed with what had transpired. But I was being led to something greater, but I did not know. So things appear to be falling apart from the from me being robbed to finding a job, making less money, mind you. I think I was making about 250 a week, something like that, maybe 300 sometimes. And it seemed to be falling apart because I went from good to bad. Yeah, you understand? And now I'm going from bad to worse. At least so I thought, because no, I don't have a job now, right? But I had interviewed, I quit the job, never got hired yet, but like I said, I was in my feelings and I quit the job. And then a week later, one of the jobs called me saying, you start Monday. And when I started that job on that Monday, I worked from Monday to Friday and I got paid that Friday. Usually you work a week in the back, but they don't work like that. I work 5 days and they pay me for my 5 days. I didn't have to wait until the next week. So I got that money plus a job that I had just quit. I got 2 paychecks from those guys, right? To add to that paycheck. So right off the bat, I'm making twice as much money as I was with the old job, right? Interesting. Just in a 2 week span. And I remember that around about that same time, I that was April. I got the job in April, April 2nd. By September, 4 months later, September 11th to be exact, 2001, when the Twin Towers were taken out, I was signing on the dotted line an agreement to construct a brand new house. But within that 4 months period, my credit was shot, was an absolute mess. Like when I tell you it was a mess, it was an absolute mess. And um, I had just gotten a new job. I lost one, got one. And this was September, like I said. So within a 4 month period, a lot of things changed. More money, my credit got upgraded, got fixed. And I did not use a credit repair company, by the way. Um, everything I did it myself. The monies I owed, I called the people, arranged to pay them off, and some other stuff that I had on my credit. That was not even my fault. It was credit fraud. Um, I got those things to be taken off. Never used a lawyer, never went to anybody like that. Things were just flowing in place. And all of a sudden my credit was good enough to buy the house. Not great, but it was good. Over 600 at the time. And by May the following year, 2002, the house was fully constructed. So 8 to 9 months later, after signing on the dotted line, I had a brand new house. And so I'm showing you from like um 1999, September 1999, when the incident happened, to 2002, May. That's 2000. 2001, 2002, right? So about 2.5 years later, if you do the math, um, I was in a brand new house. From being robbed to being in a new job and having a brand new house, just like that. Okay. And years pass, I end up losing the house, losing my cars and all these different possessions. Went back into cutting hair again, full time. I was cutting hair by 2003, but part time. But in 2008 to 9, I went back into cutting hair full time. All right. And within that year, um, I the job I had lost. I lost my job because it was the year 2008 when the economy crashed and everything, and they were just rearranging everything. So I got let go from the job. Great job, I loved it, but they were rearranging things and whatever. So I got let go from the job, and now I find myself cutting here again. But within by August or so that year, I was back to making the same money I was making on that job just from cutting here. And by the next year, 2010, I got my license, my barber license. Something that I had procrastinated for years. But because I was no longer working that job, I had the time now to go to that school. But how did I go to the school? Check out this story. I was working in a barber shop without a license, and the inspector came there and caught me working without the license. Gave me a fine and said no, I couldn't work in the barber shop without a license anymore. Anyways, it so happens that I was able to go to school in the mornings from 8 till 2:30, I think. And I would work in the morning 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, and I would go to the barber shop in the evening, run about 4:30 thereabouts. And thinking that it would be safe for those hours. And it was. I went to school for 10 months, and after 10 months I got my license and no incidents. I did lose a lot of money, about $15,000, I think, basically, if I do the math right, in that time to miss work, but it was worth it. I had to go through that scenario in order to get what I really wanted. I wanted my barber license and I got it. So all these things, everything seems to be falling apart, but I'm always finding myself in a better position at the end of the day. And and when I got my license, that was 2010. By 2000, 4 years later, I had my own barbershop. And if I didn't have my license, it would have been a little bit more difficult to do that in order to work in the shop. You don't need a license to have the barbershop, but you need a license to work in it. And I wouldn't have the time to be doing, I don't know how I would have done it or achieve it, trying to find a barbershop and trying to go to school all at the same time and managing my house and everything that was going on. So everything happened so seamlessly that by the time 2014 came around, I was in my own barbershop till now. And everything was back to normal. So look at all the incidents that transpired that I had to go through in order to get to where I am currently. And when I started the shop, I mean, that was the best thing that could have ever happened in terms of growth and income and all these different things, and just the freedom that I was able to have to do a bunch of different things that I've done thus far. But recently, as I'm giving you guys this story, this is the last story to kind of tie this in. Recently, just this past week, yeah, today's what, Sunday? So just this past week, um, Monday to be exact, two of my most loyal or decorated or consistent barbers decided to leave, out of the blue. So something totally unexpected. that I was not prepared for in terms of at the time it happened, the time of year, and who these two individuals were. But when it happened, I already, yeah, in one sense, you're seeing the way you say no, the casualty, the loss of income I was getting from these two individuals, and the loss of their services, um, how good they were, and all the different type of stuff. So you're going to see that the conscious mind is going to perceive all of that stuff and see what's going on. But on the background, I saw things um as it was supposed to be seen. My perception of it was I saw the bigger picture, right off the bat. Even though I was surprised and disappointed, and mainly because of the individual's work ethic and how long they've been with me, 6.5 years. One of them and the other one was 3 years. So 9 years, almost 10 years in terms of total experience between these two with me. And so it's a hard pill to swallow. But the way I was perceiving it was what was interesting, because as this happened Monday, so as by the end of the week, now everybody starts to realize that they're no longer there, and they're asking me what happened and blase blase, and I'm telling them, this just happened out the blue. I'm still not sure exactly why. Have some explanation as to why they wanted to leave, but I don't know the totality of the real reason. But nonetheless, um, I have to, accept what the situation is and regroup. And almost, I would say everybody that I told that asked me, it's amazing how they all say, here's what they say. Oh, don't worry about it, man. One door closed, another one open. Nobody had anything drastic, dramatic, or negative to say, as to say, boy, it go hard now, and how you go manage, and look at the time, and what you gonna do now? Are you gonna have to close the shop? How you gonna pay the rent and all? Nobody had any of those to say, and I know why. It's because I was not attracting that energy. My perception of the situation was not in alignment with anything to question how things are going to work out. My mind was in alignment with all is well, and so everybody had to. They don't know why they're saying it. It's cliche, but they don't know why they're saying it. They're saying it because of how I perceived it. And as they're saying it, I'm not even saying anything. I'm just listening to what they're saying, and I'm in my own mind. I'm saying, this is amazing. This is consciousness. How amazing is consciousness that I'm getting to experience in real time, personally, not something I'm hearing about or observing, but something that's happening in my reality, my life. But I get to be also the observer of it rather than uh, the where I say no, the victim. So I don't have a victim mindset. I am seeing it in a positive light, in a better outcome. So what I'm seeing that there's a bigger change that is taking place, or that has taken place in my awareness, because there are things that I've been consciously assuming and perceiving and desiring. And this is just part of the move that had to happen. And in the same breath, it's interesting because it was the three of us in terms of barbers in the shop for the last 6.5 years. And but just in the last 4 months, I hired two other barbers. I had two chairs that was sitting there for years, one for 2 years and one for maybe 5 years, empty, you know. But I had other people in the shop anyways, like a massage therapist and two girls that does dreadlocks and whatever. So, you know, so other positions were filled, bringing in income. But I had those two chairs that were empty all this time. And it just so happened that 4 months ago or 5 months that two people have filled those chairs. So I gained two and I lost two. And I lost two of the people that I was not expecting to lose. If anything, I was thinking I would lose the two people that just came. And you see, that's not what happened. So, but nonetheless, to our point of this topic for today, when things become topsy-turvy, are they falling apart or falling into place? And I had to recognize that from the jump. Though, like I said, admittedly, I was disappointed, not angry. We never, these individuals I'm talking about, we've never had any run-ins. Can't say anything bad about them. Great people, um, great personality, no issues whatsoever. Um, I can only be disappointed, but no anger, no animosity, none of that came to mind. Um, we talked things out, hugged, and laughed about whatever, and that was it. So I still have a clear conscience of things, not holding on to anything negative or whatever. I'm only seeing better ahead, you know? And so, like I said, everybody who had asked what happened and found out all said the same thing. It was like a broken record. It was like the repeat. Yeah, man. No worry. One door closed, another one open. Things are going to be much better. Just all positive affirmation that was coming. So I did not attract anything negative because of my perception of the outcome that I was experiencing was not of a negative, though it might seem that way. You get to decide if it's negative or not. You get to decide if it's negative or not. And I decided that it was not a negative, like anything else that I just confessed to you guys about with my jobs, the Bob, you know, when I in my earlier years working, when I got robbed, my credit issues, all these things, they all appear to be topsy-turvy. They all appear to be upside down. They all appear to be bad, negative, destructive. But in the end, it was the opposite of what it was. It was a blessing in disguise, as they would say. It was, um, you know, good appearing to be evil or bad, if that makes sense. You understand? Joseph said, "My brothers meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." You know, the God he's talking about here is your awareness of the outcome, your awareness of what you're expecting, you know. You can expect it to be the bad that you were put into, and then you will say, hey, my brothers meant it for evil, and now I'm in a bad shape. I'm in my worst state of all time, worst state ever, because you're seeing it as something that they did to you that was bad. But but if you perceive it as you know, this is going to there's some good that's going to come from this, then consciousness has no choice but to play that outcome as you're perceiving it, because consciousness is a mold or it's formless. You understand? And then you can mold it, I should say, into the form that you want it to be. Okay? So it is pliable, malleable. It takes the form that you give it. The form you're giving consciousness here is your perception of things. Whatever you perceive, you're giving it a form. And the consciousness has no issue taking the form that you're giving it, and it has zero choice. It is like water going into a vase, going into a cup, going into a saucer, going into a pot, has no restriction or resentment or reservation whatsoever. It just flows with what you're doing, and it takes the shape and it minds its business and it becomes that. If you put it into a refrigerator, it becomes cold. If you put it on the fire, it becomes hot. You understand? If it stay in the fridge too long, it gets very cold or it becomes ice. If it stay on the fire too long, it boils until it evaporates. It's always taking the shape of the condition that you put it in. So when you're perceiving your environment or your life or your experiences rather, um, the way you perceive it is the way is the shape it's going to take, you know? And but most people are not aware of it because it always seems to come at a time when you need it most. When I lost my job in '08, I was the only one working. And interestingly, I'd already lost my home, my house at the time, my cars, repossessed, all that stuff. So everything was falling apart. The economy was falling apart. I was falling apart. And of course, it's probably because I was perceiving how the economy was falling apart. I was entertaining all these different things, you know? And so eventually, these things had to occur, you know? But in the same breath, they were putting me in alignment with things that I was also conceptualizing, you know? Though I may not have been aware as much consciously, but subconsciously, these concepts were embedded and had to play their part. And so, in order for me to get to those, I had to lose um, the things that I had. You know, I had to lose the house, the cars, you name it. I even went through a separation, you know, from my wife at the time. You understand? So everything, like all these things in the same same order, same thread. Everything is just one after the other, you know. But the last thing that happened was the separation that we went through. And eventually divorce and whatever. So all these things happened just like that. Boom, 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 one after the other. Um, but I kept a sound mind and was never what do you call it now? Um, disorganized or desperate or felt myself in any type of despair. I still had a high expectation, and like I said, in a matter of time, months, I should say years, I was back on track because my perception of the reality was not that it was bad. It was for some good that was to come of it. You understand? And that's exactly what happened in the end. After it was all said and done. And I'm going through it again, like I said, with the two individuals leaving unexpectedly. But I will keep you guys posted on the testimony or the outcome that is going to come from it, the good that's going to come from it, that I've already claimed, already imagined or conceptualized, so that you know whatever seems to be falling apart is actually falling into place. So that's how you have to perceive it. That's how you have to see it. Things always fall into place. But if you perceive it as such, it will definitely fall into place even quicker, faster, seamlessly. Like, you know, things will just happen so organically that you won't even recognize that, this is how it is was meant to happen in the first place. It would just seem like what them say, um, it was going to happen anyway. That's what people say. Oh, it was going to happen anyway, you know. That's how it will seem. But it's all going to be based on your perception of things. So as we're saying, 2025 was a year of growth, a year of increase, not necessarily in external things, but in the internal, in the growth of our awareness, and in sharpening our most powerful tool, our most powerful possession, and that is our consciousness. Who is ourself? Who we really are in reality. You understand? But nonetheless, we have increased our power. You know, we have added to ourselves more so than we did the year before and the year before that, and so on and so forth. And that increase, that addition, is going to we're going to reap the benefits in the years to come, in the months to come, weeks to come, days to come, or years to come, whichever way you perceive it or conceptualize it. That's exactly how it is going to transpire. So it is a reflection, in one hand, one sense, of what we did this whole year, all the different topics we did on improving our mentality, improving our consciousness, our imagination primarily. We talked about last week the 12 disciples, or um the 12 hidden powers of the conscious mind, which we recognize as the 12 disciples spoken about in scripture. And that class was about disciplining the conscious mind. The conscious mind is the mind that perceives the external, how things appear to be. You understand? It's for the external world, for the 3D world. But, you know, we can look beyond that, and we can imagine, you know, how we desire things to be. We can use our inner perception, not the external, but the inner, your imagination. We can use that to conceptualize, though we're experiencing the chaos with these two eyes, we can see it, or we can hear it. Okay, we can exercise all the five senses. But if you use your imagination, which is also known as the sixth sense, there's the other sense. It's also um the 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 five senses from an internal perspective. Okay, your imagination is also your five um inner senses, in terms of the using it to desire or to construct your external experiences. You're using it to construct from within, but it will be reflected from without. And then you can use your five senses in an internal way to see what you want to see, hear what you want to hear, touch what you want to touch, smell what you want to smell, taste what you want to taste. So that is you using your imagination with an internal five senses, rather than an external five sense where you're seeing things, hearing things, tasting things, touching things, or smelling things as they appear to be. You can change that from within. And the five senses within, in scripture, they're known as the five wise virgins, because they're always virgins, because they it's self-impregnation, you know. Um, you are always a virgin internally. You understand? You're always you know, perceiving and determining how you want things to be. And you're going to have this immaculate conception. You don't need any external help. All of this is being done from by yourself, within yourself. And you're giving birth to the things that you conceptualize from within your imagination. Okay? So um so as this year transpired, some of us may have seen external growth, some of us may have not. Um, we had several different exercises that we did with writing with the left hand. And it's probably one of the things that also helped to And it's funny I'm using the word help, but it's probably one of those things that help to cause these two individuals to decide to leave. We had some things that transpired within that time in the shop that contributed to them deciding to leave. And one of those things was me hiring these extra two guys, um, which caused a little bit of what I say now, disharmony, but not in a malice way, just you know, just ways that create a discourse of some kind, but eventually lead to um the decision made by these individuals, but nothing that is malicious on any one of their parts. But what I'm saying to you is I'm just trying to show you how consciousness organizes things, and it's never in the way you expect it. It's always going to seem unfair, maybe even destructive, or um, evil and stuff like that. But it is just consciousness knowing the best way to create the outcome that you desire. So I remember some of the things I was writing with my left hand over and over and over and then reciting them and stuff like that. And I don't know how they're gonna happen or when, but knowing consciousness, knowing that we have learned how dynamic consciousness is, I can see the um the projection or the trajectory of the things that had already happened and where it's going to end up. Um, it's going in alignment with the things I was writing. Um, though the things that are happening does not appear to be in alignment with the things that I wrote. But in some strange way, it may seem that way, but it is a paradox. It's a paradox. It makes sense when you see the levels, as they would say, when you see um the truth of how consciousness really is and how it works. It is so phenomenon, so dynamic that what scripture say that God's ways are past finding out, meaning that the way consciousness works makes zero sense at times. Like you cannot see how this thing is even beneficiary or beneficial. But in a strange way, if you remain faithful, if you remain um, conscious of your desire, despite what your senses may convey, despite what the conscious mind might be seeing or experiencing, if you live in your imagination or live in the things that you have imagined and live there, stay there, hold steadfast to that outcome, then the end result will be the what you have imagined. The end result will be what you have imagined. It will not be anything other than that if you stay steadfast. So as I said, the left hand writing, the visualizing, all the topics that we did this year may have been, what's playing out right now and is what is playing out right now. It just doesn't seem as if it makes much sense, but it does. Okay. Um, you guys have any acknowledgement in your own way that you care to acknowledge or share anything? We have a few more minutes before the class is finished. Okay. But I hope that this has made sense for today and is making sense. 2025 basically finished. We only have 3 more days to go before this year is at its final end. But we have another year coming up, 2026. And we get to say what it is. We did a topic, one of our topics we did this year was, you know, it is what I say it is. Okay, so you decide what 2026 is going to be. It's not something that is decided for you by anyone else but you. You decide what it's going to be, but what you don't have a decision on is how the things are going to, the things that you have decided things to be, how you, what you have decided 26 to be, you don't have the know-how. You don't know how it is going to happen. That's the thing that you don't control, is the how. All you need to have is the why. Okay? You don't need to have the how. You just need to have the why. And stick to your why. If your why is big enough, then how it is going to happen does not matter. Because the how is already in your consciousness, it's already in your awareness, it already exists, it already is. But when you are prying for answers or prying for directions or prying for explanations, you're only going to um, slow down the outcome that is going to save you or your desire that is to come. You're only going to destroy what you have created, you know? So in order for it to be in a flow state, you have to have that conscious awareness to let it flow. You know, don't fight it, don't deny it, don't deconstruct it or start over or do anything like that. Just accept it that things are finished, that things are all things are well. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and end the class for now. But it has been a wonderful year. It has been a wonderful journey. And we look forward to an even more wonderful year to come. Just keep that mindset that all is finished, all is well. Okay. So again, today's topic, we can recite it. Today's topic was, when things seems to be, or when things become topsy turvy, are they falling apart or falling into place? And your decision, your perception of this will determine the matter. Okay. So perceive it wisely from now on, going into 2026. And that's how it will be. All right. So love you guys. And we will reconvene next week, Sunday in 2026. All right. Love you all. God bless. Over and out.